A few of the effects on the DVD require a color change by Roy Walton. Let me show you what it looks like. Just a little wiggle and the card changes. Here's the mechanics of the change. Start by turning over 2 cards as one. Your right fingers can go into the break and they grasp the right long side of the double card here. You're going to make the jack change into the 2. Hold onto the cards on the right long edge with your thumb on top, your fingers beneath. Now it's going to appear as if your left hand comes over to wiggle the outer corner of the card. What's going to happen is this. Your left hand comes over so that the left long edge of the double card lies on the fingertips of your left hand. Your left hand turns in a bit, starting a wrist turn, but don't turn it completely over, just about 90 degrees. At the same time, your right hand buckles the 2 cards to put a little pressure in there, and with your right thumb, push the top card of the double to your left. At the same time, your right fingers pull the bottom card of the double to your right. You want to be able to have the back of this uppermost card touching the fingertips of your left hand. Once in that position, the left fingertips will close in, causing that uppermost card to fold onto the pack. It is the pressure from buckling the cards as well as the closing of the fingers that adds the speed to make the card fly over there as quick as you can. As soon as the card has flipped over, you immediately, without pausing, bring your left hand down and grasp the outer left corner of the card with your forefinger and thumb and give it a little wiggle. You want it soft. As you do that, your palm will turn back up so the back of the deck will be in view. You want to make it appear as if the back of the deck never left their sight, even though it goes out of sight for just a split second. So at speed, you just wiggle the card and it changes. The history of this change is pretty interesting. The mechanics used is to steal the top card of a double onto the pack to create the change. Now these actions were first published by Ed Marlowe in 1962. He called it KM move with reverse fingering action. And he didn't do it for a full face change at that point. What he would do was show a card and then switch it as he dealt it to the table, or secretly reverse cards onto the pack. Had a lot of applications for it. The first instance I know of a full face change using those mechanics was from Roy Walton. In 1975, he published a book called Some Late Extra Card Tricks. Inside that book, he had a move called the paintbrush change, which looked like this. He would show a 2, take the 2 and wave it over the 6, causing it to change to a different card. Now that doesn't use the reverse KM action, but In one of the applications that Walton published using this move, he also published this variant of the move. And this is what it looked like. The first full face change using KM with reverse fingering action. So that appears in 1975 in Some Late Extra Card Tricks. A year after that, Marlowe published a full face change using the same actions. His handling looked like this. He'd come over and stroke the card with his left thumb. A year after that, Marlowe again published a handling where the deck didn't have to turn. He just stroked down and get the card to change with a stroke of his thumb. The only thing I'm doing with the change is trying to soften it up. Everything's the same, but instead of flicking the card and making a lot of noise, I'm trying to make a nice soft change with it. You just come down and give it a little wiggle. That's the only difference. Now, I first became aware of this type of change in 1979 when Richard Kaufman reinvented it and published it in his book Card Magic. Here's how Richard used it. He would show two cards and have them change to two others. Same type of action. The thumb would push, those two cards would go on top of the pack, and he'd use this type of action to cover the change. You'll also notice that that action and that type of way of doing the change is the way I use it in the Oxnard split routine for the second split. So there's a little history of this wonderful change. Here's another application of the move. I'll take the Jack of Clubs, place it here in the center of the pack. Just a snap, it comes back to the top. In this case, the move is used as a double lift unloading technique. Instead of turning the card face down, placing it in the pack and showing it, you're going to give the illusion that the card never touches the top of the pack. And it's the same mechanics you just learned by shooting that card onto the pack. But instead of coming through and wiggling for a change, you're going to kill the face of this card by turning it end for end toward you. So as soon as the mechanics of the change happens, your second finger goes onto the face of the card, flips it over toward you so it's face down, and you can place the card in the center of the pack. Let me show you what this looks like in exposed view. The double card is here. You execute the mechanics of the change. In the continuing action, you turn that card end for end face down, place it in the pack, but yet the card's still on top. So watch again how it appears as if the card never touches the top of the deck, and yet you still unloaded the double. This is a quick little effect. I wanted to be able to hold a card at my right fingertips, give it a little snap, and have it turn face up. Sort of like a one card twisting the aces. And here's what I worked on. If I take the ace and stroke it once, twice, 3 times, it turns over right at my fingertips. Now, I worked this out a while back, but then when the Elmslie books came out, I realized that he had this very same effect way back in the 50s. So the idea of having one card turn over at your fingertips with the stroking action is completely Alex Elmslie's. Our handlings are a little different though, so let me explain what I'm doing. Start by holding onto the card at its right long side, your fingertips, thumb on top, fingers beneath. You're going to stroke the card 3 times. Each time you stroke the card, you're going to perform a different action. The first time, you're going to start by getting a break beneath the top card of the pack. As this hand comes up to stroke the card, you're going to load this card to beneath the double. Beneath the one card, making it a double. Here's what it looks like. You come over like this. As soon as the cards square, your right fingers enter into the break, grasping the card. At the same time, your left thumb and forefinger squeeze, so everything gets squared up. Hold on to the double tightly as you turn your left hand down and stroke the card off your thumb. It should look like you just stroked the card, but you've actually loaded one to beneath the ace. For the second stroke, you're going to steal off the ace using Ed Marlowe's mechanics from the KM Move book, called the KM Move with reverse fingering action. As you come over, the left long edge of the double card rests on the fingertips of the left hand. Your right thumb is going to push to the left as your right fingers pull to the right. These fingers can now close, putting that card up against the deck. This happens as you come down to stroke the card. You've now stolen the ace of diamonds onto the pack in a face-up condition, so you have to make sure you don't flash that. And in its place is an indifferent card in your right hand. The spectators will still take this as the ace of diamonds. For the third stroke, you're going to switch the ace for the indifferent card using the mechanics that Cyan Field popularized as the Hofzinser top change. As your left hand comes up, you have to keep it tight. You're going to bring the hand over and then raise it at the last second to beneath this card so you don't flash that ace. As this happens, your left thumb is going to push over the ace just a little bit. You want this edge to be extended beyond the pack, but you can't push it over too far or you're going to expose the back of the card. So you push it over just a little bit, rotate your hand up, the edge of the ace goes right into the right fingertips, which hold on to the ace beneath the card. Your left thumb is now moved to the top of the 2 cards, and as you stroke, turn your left hand inward, taking the top card of those 2 cards onto the pack, and it will appear as if the card is turned over. Here's the 3 steps again. The first stroke, you add a card to beneath the ace. The second stroke, you steal the ace in reverse condition. Third time, top change, and the card turns over at your fingertips.